Hello and good morning. Welcome back to the Kongmin Lee Show. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but we will be talking today about Coney Barrett, her appealing to and testifying to the Congress about threats to her and her family's life. And of course, we don't condone political violence. We actually condemn it no matter who and where it's coming from. But we do need to talk about why women should not be justices and why they should broadly not be involved in politics. Not because we hate women, not because we're putting down women. We're not trying to be edgy and edgelords on the internet, but it is rooted in God's design. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about also what's going on in Korea with Lee Jae-myung trying to expand abortion access. And we're also talking about what's going on in the culture with the Odyssey is complete disaster. Of course, we have women's sports changing their guidelines in terms of camera work. And we're talking about all of that and more today on the Kongmin Lee Show. So remember, we are all about restoring faith, identity, and civilization from east to west. And so, a lot of things have been happening. But one thing I do want to talk about before we get into the news is that Sneeko actually blocked me recently. So if you have been following the drama online, Sneeko has been through and going through a generational crash out. All of his friends are turning on him, not because he is so oppressed and he is a victim of people backstabbing him, but quite the opposite, quite the contrary. He is switching up. He is switching up like we covered previously on this program. He was very pro-MAGA, he was pro-America, and now he is pro-Islam and pro-Third World. And he switched up very quickly in the past year and a half. And so all the friends he's made on the right wing and in the cultural space, the streaming space, who are, right wing or right wing adjacent, they don't like him anymore because he is turning their back. He has turned his back on them. And so because of that, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should have a conversation with him. A very humble Korean-American patriot as I am. A high-caste Oriental patriot like John Doyle calls me. Shout out to John Doyle, a great American patriot. I thought it'd be good to have a conversation. Hey, let's have a conversation, Christian versus Muslim, and talk about the role of religion in America, the history of America, and history of religion in America. And he blocked me. He blocked me. Like, I wasn't even trolling him. There's so many other people who are trolling him, saying really nasty things about him. All I said is, hey, let's have a debate. A friendly, cordial debate. I don't know. I feel like I'm a pretty cordial guy. I'm a congenial guy. I'm a friendly guy. And then he blocked me. Why did he block me? What are you so scared of, Sneeko? Seriously, I am but a humble Korean high-caste Oriental patriot. What about that scares you so much? And I think Sneeko fundamentally knows that he's going to get wrecked in a debate by me. And while I don't have the biggest audience, he has a bigger audience than I do. He can't leverage a debate with me to increase his platform like he can with Alex Jones or other creators. And so he blocked me. It's not even like a no. He could have ignored me, but he just blocked me because he's scared, running with his tail between his legs, scurrying away. Yeah, it's just cowardly, man. And every single person blocks me. And I'm not even a troll. I engage in good faith. If you guys see my posts, yes, I own the libs, but I also have extensive work and writing about my thoughts fleshed out well, about why I believe what I believe. And so Hassan blocked me, Mehdi Hassan blocked me, Destiny blocked me, Sneeko blocked me, Pokimane blocked me. Everyone's blocking me. We got to stop the Asian hate, gang. We got to stop the Asian hate. All that being said, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And we're going to get into our stories for today, starting with Coney Barrett testifying before Congress. So 2 days ago, right after our Tuesday episode, Coney Barrett testified before Congress about her concerns about threats to her family and her personally, to the point where she's had to wear bulletproof vest. So here is the clip of her testifying before Congress, airing those complaints.
How the threats have affected me and my family personally. They have required me to, my children, to think about and see things that children should not have to see or think about. One example is when threats to my life were particularly intense a few years ago around the time of the Dobbs leak. My security detail sent me home with a bulletproof vest, and I carried it into my house, put it into my bedroom, dropped it down on a table, turned around, and my 12-year-old son was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and he wanted to know what it was and why I had it, and I didn't know how to respond because maybe I lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one. It's also been reported in the news that roughly 6 weeks ago, I was the victim of a swatting incident. At that point, one of my teenage sons, opened the door to go out with friends and saw in our street, it was full of police cars, who had responded to a false report of gunshots and raised voices in my home. I was very, very grateful that I had Supreme Court police outside my home because they were able to stop and meet with and explain to the county police that it had been a false alarm, and so the police did not actually attempt to enter our home. Many of us, me included, have received threatening anonymous deliveries designed to intimidate and harass us. They are often sent in the name of Judge Salas's son, who I think, as you mentioned in the beginning, Mr. Chairman, is deceased because he was killed by a disgruntled lawyer who showed up at Judge Salas's home intending to kill her, but her son, 20 years old at the time, opened the door and took the bullet instead. Her husband, standing behind, was seriously injured. So I think the message on these deliveries being sent in his name is clear. As Justice Kagan said, federal judges across the country, throughout the judiciary, including the Supreme Court, continue to do their jobs without fear or favor, but the threat level is really high.
So, lots to unpack there, but mainly she says, I had no idea it would get to the point where I have to explain to my 12-year-old son what a bulletproof vest is. And what did you think this was, lady? With all due respect, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, what did you think politics was? Politics is not, we all get in a room, we all hold hands, kumbaya, we're all going to get along. No, politics is dirty, it's messy, it is literally war. It's a proxy for war in times of peace. And it is, by nature, masculine. It's by nature violent. It's an exercise of violence. And Amy Coney Barrett just thinks that, oh yeah, like, I'll just be a justice, it's all good. No, like, things are getting worse in America. But politics has always been very messy and violent. Think about all the assassination attempts on previous presidents. Think about the assassination attempts and the violent attacks against congressmen all throughout American history. Because politics decides the direction and the fate of the country. So those who will impose their will do so, and those who are unhinged will find ways to do so no matter what. So this is where we talk about how women, of course, we're talking generalities here. Well, women have the survival instincts of a goldfish, especially if they're liberal. But by their very nature, because women are conformist, and because we live in a liberal hegemonic culture, women will naturally just become left-wing and center-left because the left controls all our cultural and educational institutions. So therefore, they will be lefty. But because of that, they have literally the survival instincts of a goldfish. We talked about last week of the woman who moved to Ireland with her migrant boyfriend and she got killed by him. These are the same women who scream about how they feel unsafe, yet they will sign petitions and vote for letting out violent criminals onto the streets and flooding America and flooding their countries with third world migrants that come from countries that have actually normalized rape cultures. And so Amy Coney Barrett thinks that she can come into becoming a justice and, oh, it'll be all kumbaya. There'll be no threats to her life whatsoever. It's like, what did you think this was? And on top of that, the irony of Amy Coney Barrett coming in and saying, we need a security. Thank you for security. We need more security because the threats to my family and my personal life has increased. Yet she has no problem ruling on allowing for migrants to come into America and have Chinese birth tourism and foreign birth tourism be the law of the land. And so you see that women, by and large, cannot see things on a macro scale. For her as a principled conservative, not only insofar as it affects her in her personal life, where, hey, something has to change, it affects me in my personal life, but she can't think about it in the abstract for everyone else in the country. This is why women are very, very relational, and they're very, very anecdotal, and that's fine, but it doesn't scale to politics and governance in this country. and in any society. So you think about women in power. Women have always been in power in any nation, not at its zenith, not at its pinnacle, but at its decline. Every single time in recorded history when women got involved in politics or got into power, it was always during the decline or contributing to the decline of a great society or a great civilization. Every single time. Now contrast Amy Coney Barrett. Her testifying before Congress saying that she's scared, she needs more security, it's not right that she's gotten swatting attacks, swatting incidents, that her children need to experience this. Contrast that with Clarence Thomas when he was being confirmed into the Supreme Court to replace Thurgood Marshall.
I'd rather die than withdraw. If they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process. Not for the purpose of serving on the Supreme Court, but for the purpose of not being driven out of this process. I will not be scared. I don't like bullies. I've never run from bullies. I never cry uncle, and I'm not going to cry uncle today, whether I want to be on the Supreme Court or not.
That's Clarence Thomas, everyone. A quintessential American patriot. That I'd rather die than withdraw from this process. If they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me. And not because he wanted so badly and he hungered and lust for power. No, because he said, I will not let bullies get their way. So contrast Amy Coney Barrett with Clarence Thomas. Who do you think will be an effective justice, one of the most powerful judges and the most powerful judge in the whole country? The top court of the land? Yeah, who's going to be a better justice, you think? One who is deterred by threats or one who is not deterred by threats? And if you just see the juxtaposition between Amy Coney Barrett and Clarence Thomas, you see that Amy Coney Barrett, for her, she voted with conservatives 80+% of the time before the Dobbs decision. And then after the Dobbs decision, because the threats and the violence in her life has increased, she has only sided with conservatives 50% of the time, only half of the time, post Dobbs v. Jackson. So Amy Coney Barrett is sending a message to the left wing in this country, to the radicals, and saying, yeah, your threats on my life work. Political violence works. You're getting away with it because I'm scared and I will do your bidding. Versus Clarence Thomas, who says no. And I assure you, Clarence Thomas has plenty of death threats on his life, plenty of swatting incidents, plenty of threats and violence lodged at him and his family. Yet you don't see him whining before Congress because he understands strength. And these virtues of valor, of strength, of honor, these are all masculine virtues that women cannot embody because they're not designed to. And so you might think, oh, Amy Coney Barrett is such a coward. Actually, I don't think so. Because she is being a good woman by acquiescing to threats of violence and authority. But that doesn't make her a good justice. It makes her a normal woman, but doesn't make her a good justice. So I want to go through, then, what's that takeaway? Oh, look at Brett Kavanaugh, coward and fear too. Yeah, and that's why we call it out. Because men who are cowards, because we hold men to a standard to be courageous, to be bold. Women should not be held to that same standard because women are not men. Women are not meant to fight on the front lines of battle and die and sacrifice themselves on behalf of men. That is the duty and the responsibility of men. Women are to be nurturing, to be gentle and quiet in spirit, like it says in 1 Peter 3. That's not the expectation we give to women, rightfully so. But then we give all the privileges to women and none of the responsibilities, while we give all the responsibilities to men without any of the privileges. Then what do you think is going to happen? We're going to have a very dysfunctional society. So women should not be judges, and by extension, women should not be in politics. Why? Because it's in their very design not to be someone who can exercise violence. Like I mentioned, politics is an exercise of violence. What does the government do? Romans 13, the government exists to promote good and restrain and punish evil. How do you restrain and punish evil? You think evildoers are just sitting around, kumbaya, clapping their hands, playing chess, eating chips? No, like the evildoers are the rapists, they're the serial murderers, they're the psychopaths. So in order to restrain them and punish them, there needs to be an exercise of violence. And that's what the civil magistrate does. But if women are not designed for that, then how are we supposed to hold them accountable or responsible for their exercise of violence? And they can't. And so that's the problem. We live in a society, a very dysfunctional society, where we give all the power to women who cannot be held accountable nor be responsible for exercising violence. And this is why, hence, we have a very disorderly and chaotic society where criminals get let loose because they're of a certain oppressed class and because of the suicidal empathy of women. And meanwhile, those who are just, those who are upright and noble, they get punished for exercising justice. Now, there's a Supreme Court case way back when, Bradwell versus Illinois. And this case was brought by a woman named Mira Bradwell, who sought to be admitted to the bar to practice law in Illinois. And back then, it was illegal, of course. And there's a lot that was said with all the justices. And of course, they ruled 8-1 to not allow her to be a lawyer in Illinois. But Justice Joseph Bradley had to say this in his opinion. And I think it encapsulates very well why women should not be justices. So he says here, it certainly cannot be affirmed as a historical fact that this has ever been established as one of the fundamental privileges and immunities of the sex. On the contrary, the civil law, as well as nature herself, has always recognized a wide difference in the respective spheres and destinies of man and woman. Man is, or should be, woman's protector and defender. The natural, proper timidity and delicacy, which belongs to the female sex, evidently unfits it for many of the occupations of civil life. The constitution of the family organization, which is founded in the divine ordinance, as well as in the nature of things, indicates the domestic sphere as that which properly belongs to the domain and functions of womanhood. The harmony, not to say identity, of interests and views which belong or should belong to the family institution is repugnant to the idea of a woman adopting a distinct and independent career from that of her husband. So firmly fixed was the sentiment in the founders of common law that it became a maxim of that system of jurisprudence that a woman had no legal existence separate from her husband, who was regarded as her head and representative in the social state. And notwithstanding some recent modifications of the civil status, many of the special rules of law flowing from and dependent upon this cardinal principle still exist in full force in most states. One of these is that a married woman is incapable, without her husband's consent, of making contracts which shall be binding on her or him. This very incapacity was one circumstance which the Supreme Court of Illinois deemed important in rendering a married woman incompetent to fully perform the duties and trust that belong to the office of attorney and counselor. So move down a little bit more. And so we'll read this last part right here. It is true that many women are unmarried and not affected by any of the duties, complications, and incapacities arising out of the married state. But these are exceptions to the general rule. The paramount destiny and mission of women are to fulfill the noble and benign offices of wife and mother. This is the law of the Creator. And the rules of civil society must be adapted to the general constitution of things and cannot be based upon exceptional cases. I don't think I need to add anything more. That's exactly it. And this is what Christians and conservatives need to understand. It's not that we want to oppress women. It's not that women can be justices, they just shouldn't be because scripture just says so. No, it is the divine ordinance. It is the law of the Creator. It is in our very design. The telos of woman is not to be a leader, a protector, a soldier, a warrior. The divine telos, the design and the end goal of woman is to birth new life, to be nurturing, to be submissive to her husband. And then the role of the man, the design of the man, is to take that responsibility of being the head of his wife and to love her well, to lead her with honesty and integrity, with love, with generosity and charity, to be protective and strong and courageous. That's what it is. And all of society for thousands of years understood this very basic principle. But somehow, in the hubris of modernity, we think that we can throw it all out. But it is in the design. It is not just a mere, it's just not social arbitration. It's not arbitrary rules that's placed to men and women because, that's just how it is. So just blindly obey it. No, it's in our very design. It's how we're wired mentally, psychologically, physiologically, biologically. I remember one time, I arm wrestled my mom in high school, and this was before I worked out. I was like stick skinny. Now I'm a little pudgy right now, but I arm wrestled my mom in high school just because I was like, hey, this might be fun. I want to test my strength. And as a kid growing up, of course, I was disciplined by my mom, and I respected her authority. But I arm wrestled her, and this is without me working out. Nothing. I beat her it was so easy. I didn't even need to try. You see those videos of the average Joe doing strength competitions against women, like female bodybuilders and weightlifters. And the average Joe always wins. It is in our very design. We're not Gnostics as Christians. We don't believe that our mind and our soul is separate from our body. No, it's all one. So God has created male and female so differently. Men and women are different. And so we serve different functions, not because God just said, oh, well, that's just how it's going to be. It's not just the arbitration of men who want to control and oppress women. It's literally in our design. And the very fact that men were able to control and oppress women, which is obviously, I don't even want to accept that framework, but even if we're going to accept that framework and that line of reasoning that men oppressed women, how are they able to oppress women if women and men are equal? If we're all equal, then how were men able to oppress women for thousands of years? It's because men are more powerful, men are stronger, men are more capable, by and large, as a general rule. And so because of that, the goal should not be to dismantle the patriarchy, because you can't actually dismantle it by nature, like through natural law and by natural law. You can't dismantle the patriarchy because men are by and large stronger, and in many regards, when it comes to resource extraction, when it comes to innovation, technology, upholding infrastructure, who are the people upholding all that? It's men who are doing the dangerous jobs that lets society and keeps society running. It's men. So if men collectively said, actually, no, woman, we're going to take away your rights, what are you going to do? Like, women can't do anything. And so the goal should be men to do good to women, to treat them with respect and honor and dignity. And that shouldn't be a controversial take. And also, Justice Bradley said in his opinion that we of course consider the women who are an exception to the rule. But that is what they are, an exception. And we can't change all the rules, and we can't change all of society, the constitution of the general state, social state, in order to accommodate the exception. Because the law of averages exists, and it is undefeated. Once you start to change your institution and your standards and your rules to accommodate the rare exception, what happens as a result? That exception becomes the norm, and it destroys and deteriorates any semblance of goodness and order we had in society. The same thing with immigration in America. Oh, we were just going to give and bring in the best and brightest. Okay, now we have tens of millions of third worlders who hate America occupying every single part of America, where now Americans have become a minority, or are becoming increasingly a minority. They said the same thing with no-fault divorce. No-fault divorce is supposed to be this way for oppressed women to get out of unhealthy marriages. And as a result, now almost 50% of all marriages end in divorce in America, with the majority of them being initiated by women who are hypergamous and opportunistic. We cannot change society to accommodate all of the exceptions. We can have exceptions to the exceptions, right? We can have accommodations for the exception, but to change the rule and to change all of society to accommodate the exception is preposterous, and it destroys your country. And so, yes, the natural state of things is that women will get married. And we can have room in society for non-married women to be a part of social and civic life. But by and large, most women will get married and they want to get married. That's literally what they're wired to do, to have children, to be loved and protected by a man. Every woman loves this. That's why every woman loves a Cinderella story. They all love a K-drama story. Every woman wants this. Even the most lip-hearted women, they all want this. I've talked to tons of feminists, and they say secretly that they actually genuinely want a strong, protective man. Every woman wants this. It's in your biology. It's in your design. So that's all you need to say. That's all you need. It's in creation. It's in the design. It's in the divine ordinance. It's the law of the creator that we are different. We need to get rid of and topple the idol of egalitarianism that says that men and women are men and women are the same, because we are different in so many ways. And of course, we are all same in that, right? We're the same in that we're image bearers of God. We all have a sin nature, and we need to be redeemed by Christ. Sure, we all need to eat food. We all poop. I mean, maybe girls don't poop. I don't know. But aside from that, like, if you look at scripture, there are so many different commandments and expectations placed on men versus women. It is in our design. And how do we know? Well, look at this study. So this is a study that was conducted in 2006. And there's tons of studies that show this and corroborate the findings of the study. But this fascinating finding on how male and female empathy differs from a 2006 Nature study by Dr. Tanya Singer and colleagues. Study participants played a prisoner's dilemma game with two actors who either played fairly or unfairly. Later, the participants watched those same actors receive mild electric shocks to the back of the hand. Their brain activity was recorded using fMRI as they observed the pain. Both male and female participants felt empathy, pain areas lit up, when they witnessed fair actors getting shocked. But for the unfair actors, female participants still showed empathy when witnessing the cheaters get zapped. In men, the empathy vanished and reward centers fired instead. The men actually got a dopamine hit from seeing the guilty punished. This difference between men and women may explain why women often jump to defend criminals and fraudsters like the Somali daycare scammers and illegal immigrants, while men often feel zero sympathy and actually enjoy seeing the guilty face consequences. It's in our design. Literally, women, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of whether it's justified or not, they will look at any act of violence and they will side with those who are where the violence is being enacted upon. That's why we had the video in Italy where the African migrant was, excuse my French, but jerking off in front of everyone on the beach. And so what did a lot of Italian men do? Well, they jumped him because you don't do that in front of children and women. And then what did the woman do? The woman protected the African migrant. You see this in every instance. For example, there was a female cop in the UK very recently where she saw a white man attacking a black man, but the black man actually was attacking the white man first. So the only thing she saw was the white man attacking in self-defense, and therefore she arrested the white man. Women are emotional. They're wired to be so. And that's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing, and it's disordered when it's placed in areas of society that God did not ordain. Women are not meant for politics. This is why everyone knows this too. When men and women are in a relationship, when you have a girlfriend or a wife, like she's telling you a problem that she's having or going through, men is always like, okay, but here's the solution is so clear. Why don't you just do this? And then how do women react to that? They get mad because they don't want a solution. They just want to be heard and to be seen and to be loved. Okay, that's not a bad thing, right? But it's like, every single dating relationship I had has been like this. They would complain about a problem they're having in a church or in a friendship or in their family. And I just say, yeah, why don't you just talk to them? Or why don't you just say this? Or, hey, have you tried doing it this way? And then they always got mad at me. They're like, that's not the point. Why don't you just listen to me? I'm like, oh, sorry. But why is that the case? Everyone understands this is true. Why? Because men and women are wired differently. And women are not wired biologically and physiologically to see justice. And they are so emotionally wired. And if it's only through their lens and their framework that they can judge anything. This is why women being a part of the jury, women being judges, it's actually very, very harmful because they are not as impartial as men are. They're very partial because they are much more emotional. And again, that doesn't make them inferior or lesser than men, but it does make them unfit for positions of authority and especially adjudicating cases and the law. Like you see all the memes too, right? It's like, oh, men are taller than women, or like, oh, women are shorter than men. You make this generalization. How do every single woman act? And like nearly every single woman says, oh, but I know a woman who's taller than my brother. Oh, the average height of women is 5'4". But I'm 5'6". If it's not in their purview and from their direct perspective and personal experience, they cannot understand the world. And of course, there are exceptions to this. There's great thinkers. There are incredible female writers. And I'm not discounting them. But what I am saying, this is the general rule because women are wired this way. Why? Because they're wired to not be truly rational, but emotional. Because how do you raise children? Sometimes you can't be rational. And when you're trying to understand, hey, why is my 1-year-old crying? I can't communicate. She can't speak. I have to figure out how to put them to bed, stop them crying. And then women, by and large, figure it out while men struggle and men don't know what to do. So in the right place, in the proper place, yes, the biology and the psychology of women is a very beneficial, awesome, glorious thing. But it is not meant for public civic life. So, there's actually a name named Francis Parkman. He's an American historian. He writes a lot about this. And here's some of the points that he makes, which is, I think this is where we're going to end on, that politics ultimately rests on coercive force, right? And then so when you have, all throughout society, you always had distinctions and categories of people and organization of society, but mainly, at least throughout society, other than men and women, parents and children, you had the distinction between combatants and non-combatants in society. So combatants are the ones who fight on the front lines, whether foreign or even domestic, where they're trying to enact the change that they want to see done. And then you have the non-combatants. This is why everyone also says this, and everyone understands this, that it is, no one gets sad when men die in war. No one does. But they what do they always say? It's women and children die. Women and children were killed. Women and children are being killed in Gaza. Women and children are being killed in Ukraine. No one cares about the men. And I'm not even saying that's like a bad thing. Like you should still care about the men who died, so have empathy for them. But the reason why everyone understands that it is a greater tragedy that women and children die because they are non-combatants. And the combatants in society are men. And so women have always been the non-combatants and included in the non-combatants, and men have been the combatants, which is why they have been the ones to fight in war and also exercise power and force through politics. And men and women have different but complementary civic functions rather than identical political roles. Women's influence over family and society would be weakened by direct participation in party politics, which is what we see. Every single female politician, think about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Kristi Noem, every single boss babe female politician, what happens? They cheat on their husbands. They're not a good mother. They're not present for their family. So it's true. Their influence and their just being a good mother, that function is deterred by the participation of women in politics. And also, the majority of women didn't even desire the quote-unquote right to vote. Remember, only 4% of women at the time of suffrage wanted the right to vote. And expanding suffrage would change the nature of government without producing corresponding benefits. But what all it really comes down to is that politics is the exercise of power, of force, and of violence. The government itself, that's what it is. It is the authority that the people allow and give deference to, enact force in order to enact order and enforce the law in society. So voting is not just merely expressing your opinion, but it is connected to the state's coercive power. So when you have women in politics who are contributing to how much force and what kind of power is used, you result in what? A dysfunctional society, because that is not the realm of women. So women have a great place in society. They are indispensable. Seriously, women are so important in society. And I'll never want to diminish that. Although we rag on feminism and the tendencies of women. But we love women. But the thing is, their greatest contribution comes through the family and community rather than electoral politics. We said this before. Their desire for inclusion and being welcoming, that's a really great thing. But it works for your community barbecue. It works for your community cookout. It works for your family or play dates. It doesn't scale to governmental politics and electoral politics. It doesn't scale to society writ large because it's destructive if you want to welcome the entire world into your country. So you have to understand politics is the collective exercise of violence, of force. It is a combative role. It is not a non-combative role. And this is why Amy Coney Barrett, she thought that she could come into this role and say, and be all safe and things be peaceful. And she's shocked that she has to wear a bulletproof vest. No, like that's the times that we live in. And that's always has been the nature of politics, really. It has been violent. It has been risky. It's been dangerous. A woman, we're not meant for that. And that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't make you a lesser human being. It just makes you different. It makes us different, and that's okay. So Amy Coney Barrett, what you should do is to step down, because you cannot be a good mother of 7 children while being a Supreme Court justice. It is just not feasible. You can't. Either you're going to be a bad mother and a good justice, or a bad justice and a good mother. But I would argue and I would posit that as a woman, it is very, very rare that you'll have a good, sound, impartial female judge. So what you actually end up doing in the case of Amy Coney Barrett is you have a bad judge and a bad mother. And so what she needs to do is she needs to step down if this is too dangerous. And I honestly think it's a bad thing. Like, of course, we need to increase security for her, and we need to crack down on left-wing terrorists and violence. Of course, that's all needed. We talk about that all the time on this program. But for her, like, what's more important than her being a Supreme Court justice is being a good mother. The moral influence and the leadership that she has over her children, that is infinitely more important than what she'll do. And her adjudicating from the bench, she's been ruling against conservatives half of the time anyways. So what we need to do is she needs to step down, and we need a new Clarence level, literally a Clarence Thomas level justice to step up, who will not give in to bullies and will say no and not allow left-wing terrorists to get their way. And that's what we need to do, because I deeply cherish and I care for women. I actually don't like when women are brutalized and women are put in positions of, where they're in danger. Like, that's not where women should be. Women should be mainly to the home, but also building their own community, their local community. That's where the strength is. And think about it. The deterioration of social cohesion, just everything has been worsening in every single social aspect in America. And that is due to women's direct civic engagement in politics. Because now, instead of having that energy be focused in their local community to build vibrant, rich, welcoming local communities, now they're outsourcing all of that empathy, that warmth, those emotions, into catering for third world migrants or the left-wing terrorists who end up getting killed by ICE. Again, women cannot aside from their initial emotions in that moment, they don't understand second-order causes and effects. And that's not a bad thing. But we have to have a serious conversation about how men and women are different. And if men and women are different, then we serve different roles and functions in society. But by propelling women to be in traditionally masculine roles, what you end up doing is you actually tear down the relationships we have between men and women, where they used to be complementary, now they're competitive. Now men and women are competing against one another and fighting against one another instead of supporting one another, where men are leading women, protecting women, and women are supporting and being the helpmate of men. That's how it's always been, and that's our ancestors understood this. Everyone in all of civilization understood this. And for some reason, because the modern zeitgeist rewards worshiping the god and idol of egalitarianism, somehow saying this is misogynistic and hateful. Like, no, I'm not misogynistic. I don't hate women. I love women. I do. So that is our segment on Amy Coney Barrett. I really do hope that she's safe, that her family's safe, and we crack down on left-wing terrorism. But women should not be judges. They're not meant to be judges and politicians in politics because God did not design them for it. It is not in their psychology nor their physiology, and that's okay. It doesn't make them any lesser. We're just different. And I want to move towards a society where men and women do not compete against one another, don't fight against one another, but actually complement one another. And the only way we're going to achieve that complementary societal lifestyle again is if we first acknowledge, first and foremost, that men and women are different. We must. And that is the existential fight right now for male-female relations in America, all across the first world. And so, yeah, that's Amy Coney Barrett. We're moving on to our next segment. So all our next segments will be shorter. That was our headline news story, Amy Coney Barrett, because I think it's very important to talk about the nature of male-female relations, because that is the bedrock, right? The family is the bedrock of civilization. And so we want men and women to get along, get married, have children. So that's like literally the most important thing ever, really. But that being said, we had a funny moment on the Senate floor yesterday. Chuck Schumer passed something very, very incredible and very weighty, let's say.
Now on Iran and the NDAA. The American people need to know, of course, how and why this chaos is spreading through their streets, and we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now on Iran and the NDAA. When all the Trump administration can say about his disastrous war with Iran is that Vietnam was worse, a point Trump made yesterday, he revealed the scale.
As you can hear, probably, he farted. Chuck Schumer farted. I know it's like, okay, who cares? I think it's hilarious. We need to learn how to laugh. On top of that, it is actually quite... for all of Chuck Schumer's failings, and we don't like this guy is an absolute traitor and enemy to America, at least he passes things in Congress. He passes a fart, a little toot here and there. When have Republicans passed anything? Now, they just passed legislation through the House that includes the Save America Act writing. So we're hoping that gets passed in the Senate. So we effectively do pass the Save America Act to, secure our elections, which is very, very important. So, yeah, but I mean, overall, though, like the Democrats pass more. And I don't say that facetiously as well. Like they actually pass more legislation like the past 2 years in the Republican Congress with a Republican White House, with a conservative Supreme Court. The GOP has passed the least amount of legislation ever. So they're not passing anything. At least Chuck Schumer is passing some gas. Now, the White House had this funny meme, which I think was funny.
Now on Iran and the NDAA. When all the Trump administration... Now on...
I know, it's just like boomer humor, but I think it's funny. It's Chuck Schumer farting, and then he has a sombrero, because you know how performative the Democrats are. Yeah, but that was a deep, wet fart. Hey, man, once you get to that age, it's hard to control your gluteus maximus muscles to contain gas from leaking through. So... I don't know. I just thought it's funny. It's kind of embarrassing. But yes, we talked about how he passes gas. At least he passes something. Republicans don't pass anything. But also, we also have to have a conversation about how, maybe like super old people shouldn't be in Congress anymore. Like, let them retire. Let them get out. And I am not someone who advocates for term limits because actually, for example, if we have someone like Josh Hawley, someone like Trump in office, like we want them in office forever because those are our guys. So I am actually not against term limits, but I am against, like, I am for like an age restriction because someone who is hitting 80, 90, who literally cannot function cognitively and also physically and meet the demands of leading the country and being a federal politician, they shouldn't be in office. At that point, it really becomes elder abuse. Like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, get out of here. You guys are too old. I don't even think they know what they're talking about at this point. It was Biden for 4 years in the White House. It was seriously elder abuse. Oh yeah, well, ice cream. Oh, America is a shubba. Huh? And he falls. Falls on stage multiple times. He's riding his bike. And then he just falls over. I mean, come on. I respect and I honor my elders. And I honestly think, like, at that point, it's like, dude, just step down. But thank God he didn't step down because can you imagine Kamala Harris as our president? Good Lord. Have mercy on this nation. Oh, man. Our last story we're talking about in the U.S. is there's this story of a Canadian illegal immigrant. She was at the Jersey Shore boardwalk and she slapped a teenager for wearing Trump gear. She was wearing gear that said MAGA. And so the Canadian illegal immigrant smacked her and she's now in ICE custody. Win for Patriots. Now let's watch this. Let's read this. Not watch. This article from the New York Post. A leftist Canadian woman allegedly slapped a teen who was wearing President Trump branded clothing on the Jersey Shore over the 4th of July weekend before she was arrested and detained. Keep going. And so lefty Canadian illegal immigrant was thrown into an immigration detention center after she allegedly slapped a teen on the boardwalk because she was wearing pro-Trump and ICE clothing, according to cops and sources. Now her TikToker husband, who previously posted disturbing videos wishing for President Trump's assassination and praying for the president's family to get cancer, is trying to raise money for her legal defense and is slamming the horrible conditions inside the Delaney Hall ICE lockup where she's being held. Caitlin Tracy is her name. She's 33. She confronted a group of 4 teenagers, including a 16-year-old girl with patriotic-colored MAGA sweatpants featuring the word ICE, at the Point Pleasant Boardwalk over the 4th of July weekend. She overstayed her visa and was in the U.S. illegally at the time of her arrest, and she was busted after getting into an argument with a teen and she slapped her across the face and the body on July 3rd. And so we have a tweet from the DHS that describes this. So, right here, Caitlin Tracy is a illegal alien from Canada who was charged with simple assault, neglect of a child, compounding crime, and harassing communication. She had allegedly struck a teenage girl wearing pro-Trump memorabilia on a boardwalk in Point Pleasant Beach during the 4th of July weekend. She was arrested by the Point Pleasant Beach Police Department, who facilitated a controlled transfer into ICE custody, where she will remain pending her immigration proceedings. She entered the United States on April 14th, 2024, on a visa set to expire on September 6th, 2024. In violation of our nation's law, she overstayed her visa and failed to deport. Look at her eyes. It's always in the eyes. Lifeless, soulless. Literally, there's nothing going on behind those eyes except for envy, seething rage, bitterness, resentment. And that's what motivates all of these leftists. That's why they can look at a teenage girl just wearing MAGA clothes, get up to her, confront her, and slap her across the face. I mean, how spiritually and mentally unwell do you have to be? Like, how evil and depraved do you have to be to go up to a teenage girl, and just because she's wearing pro-Trump gear, you go up to her and slap her across the face? And now, we won't watch this video, but we have her husband. His name is Matthew Gironi, and he's now asking for people to fund her legal expenses because she's in ICE custody. Now, again, if you're here illegally, you should be deported. There's no question about it. But we see examples of this guy. This guy is the same guy who celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is right here. Look at this guy. I mean, He has an art poster on his wall featuring small children with the text 1,000 virgins for Satan's master. I mean, just absolutely disgusting. Like, seriously disgusting. What a creep. He's actually satanic and demonic. And I don't say demonic to absolve him from any responsibility, but he literally is a demon. And what do we do with demons? We crush demons. We defeat demons. Like 1,000 virgins for Satan while he has children on that poster. I mean, that's so disturbing. In any period of society, of civil society, we would have arrested this guy immediately because he's a creep. He's a freak. And now here's a video of him celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
This one as an example. Now, over the next few days, you're going to hear a lot of people say it's wrong to celebrate someone's death. It's wrong to laugh when someone gets hurt that you politically disagree with. And what I have to say to that is they have no problem laughing at us. They have no problem laughing when people are ripped from their families by ICE. They have no problem laughing when people are denied medical care, housing, food, clothing, basic human decency. They laugh when people are denied their actual even existence. These people laugh when cops shoot down black kids or murder a black person by standing on his neck. They laugh when some kid chokes out a black guy in the subway and the president brings him to like a football game. They're always laughing at us. So why wouldn't I laugh when one of them takes it to the fucking neck and he's no more? The world is a lighter place now that he's gone. And I say, ha, ha, ha. First one, boys and girls.
You have to understand, dear viewer, this is the average leftist. This is the average leftist. They make these false equivocations so that they feel justified in their own mind. They rationalize that you can celebrate, cheer, and advocate and even execute the murder of conservatives in this country. You heard his equivocations, right? He said, oh, they laugh when children are ripped apart from their families. No. We laugh when criminals get what they're due. You laugh at when black kids are killed by cops. No, actually, we don't. But if it's a 17-year-old, 16-year-old who was shooting people or trying to stab a cop, yeah, like, F around and find out. I'm not going to mourn for a violent criminal who's trying to kill people and kill a cop. Are cops not people either? George Floyd memes exist because George Floyd, it was all a lie. He was not an upstanding citizen. He was not a martyr for civil rights. He was a career criminal who terrorized his community his entire adult life. He was already overdosing on fentanyl, and he didn't die from the neck. He didn't die from asphyxiation. He died from drug overdose. And then the entire country burned down. The entire country, every corporation, every academic institution, completely flipped upside down to cater towards BLM. That's why we mock it. Because it's a false religion that emerged out of George Floyd being the patron saint of their woke, non-theistic secular religion. That's literally why we mock it. Meanwhile, you mock Charlie Kirk being killed. For what? What was his crime? Talking to college students on college campuses? Like, these people are actually evil. Like, you have to understand. I'm so sick of the edgy, oh, I'm neither left or right. Christ first. I'm like, dude, do you not understand the headspace of all these leftists who believe in this and will be outspoken about how they feel about you? They want you dead for being a normal person from 10 years ago. If you are a normal person from 10 years ago, they think you're a far-right extremist who is worthy of death. And even if they don't say it outspokenly and outwardly, this is how they feel internally. This is how photos and videos of mocking Charlie Kirk's death amass hundreds of thousands of likes, millions of views of people celebrating, agreeing with it. Yeah, we live in a very dangerous time. And this is the average leftist. So good on ICE. Good on ICE. And you see the left is pretty quiet about this. Why? Because it's a white woman who was detained. They can't just say, oh, it's racism. They're just rounding up the browns to deport. Yeah, like, even if you're a Canadian and you're here illegally, bye-bye. So what we needed, we say this all the time, an aggressive crackdown on left-wing terrorism and an aggressive crackdown on illegals is so needed to save this country. Because someone who is walking around the shores of New Jersey slapping young teenage girls for being conservative, yeah, no thanks. We don't want that. We shouldn't tolerate that. Get out of our country. Get out. People always say, oh, aren't you Korean? They're going to deport you too. Okay, if they deport me, I have a home to go back to. And if deporting me is required for all the other illegals and the criminals to be deported so America could have a country again, I'll take one for the team. I don't care. Because why? I have a country to go back to. I have Korea to go back to. Where do Americans have to go back to? America is the birthright of Americans, not foreigners. So good on ICE. I hope this woman rots in the ICE facility as long as she can, and then she gets deported back to Canada. Because Canada, Toronto stand. You guys can handle her. But yeah, you have to understand that this is the norm for the left in America, and those who disagree with this, who are liberals, they've already left the left, and they are considered conservative now because they don't agree with political violence and agitation and insanity. So this woman, Caitlin Tracy, who slapped the girl, her husband, who has a painting of, 10,000 virgins for Satan with children and celebrates the death of Charlie Kirk and wants every conservative dead. Yeah, this is the normal state of the left today. You have to understand that. That's why nearly half of those who identify as leftist and liberal condone political violence. Understand where we're at right now. Understand where we're at. Prepare accordingly, navigate accordingly. Because you cannot be living in this weird, edgy, hippie naivete. Yeah, I'm just neither left nor right, bro. Like Christ is going to redeem all. We have enemies trying to kill you and me and your family. God also calls us to be his hands and feet, to exercise prudent judgment and enact justice in society. We're not supposed to sit on our hands and just expect God to do everything. We're supposed to take up the mantle of Christendom and fight for Christ. So yes, pray in everything. Pray without ceasing. But if you're just going to sit on your hands and pray and use prayer as a guise for your cowardice, to hide behind prayer, to mask your cowardice, yeah, God is not well pleased with that. Let's talk about what's going on in Korea on So one thing I want to talk about is yesterday, or 2 days ago, President Lee Jae-myung met with his cabinet, and he had a meeting where he talked about how he wants to expand abortion access and expand access to the abortion pill. So this is from the Korea Times. Lee says women should be safely able to take abortion pills. So President Lee Jae-myung has instructed the government Tuesday to look into ways to allow women to safely take the abortion pill mifepristone. I always forget how to pronounce this. Even before the necessary legal framework is in place. Lee said during a cabinet meeting that Korean women have been directly purchasing the pill from overseas to get around domestic restrictions at the expense of risking their own health. Even if it causes some difficulties to the government, we have to allow them to take it appropriately, he said at the meeting at Cheongwade, which is the Blue House. Meanwhile, abortion is not illegal in Korea. While abortion is not illegal in Korea, the legal framework governing gestational limits and procedures has yet to be established. Lee called for approaching the issue from a pragmatic point of view, saying leaving it unaddressed would be irresponsible on the government's part. He also suggested giving doctors the discretion to decide whether to prescribe the pill as an alternative to letting women purchase it indiscriminately from overseas. This is national suicide. Why would you do this? First of all, there is no safe way to take the abortion pill because the abortion pill kills a human life in the womb. So it is so Orwellian, the language people use surrounding abortion. Because there's no safe way to take an abortion pill because why? It kills the baby in your womb and it disrupts the natural process that you as a mother have. That's why miscarriage is so traumatic and actually not good for a woman's body. Because why? Once a woman gets pregnant, her hormones, her endocrine system, her entire body adjusts for the growing baby. And then when that baby doesn't come to full gestation and dies in the womb, it is actually deeply traumatic and damaging to the woman. Because the woman, her entire body, the mother, her entire body adjusted to welcome this baby into the world. And then if the baby dies, whether it's through miscarriage or abortion, like the body's in shock. It's not supposed to do that. And so miscarriage is a tragedy. We all know it's a tragedy because a life is lost and a woman suffers. But abortion is a worse tragedy even than miscarriage, because miscarriage is not intentional, but abortion is the intentional killing. It's the murder of a baby in the womb. And so it completely disrupts a pregnant mother's physiology and her biology, completely destroys her body. It's not good for her. And so there is no actual safe way to take the abortion pill because it is dangerous for the baby. It kills the baby and harms and ruins the mother's body. And in actuality, there are cases of women who have died from taking the abortion pill, from bleeding out, from having disruptions and side effects. So there's no safe way. This is such an Orwellian way to think about it. But to think about it. Lee Jae-myung, you are so stupid. Korea is on the brink of collapse. It is literally going through civilizational collapse right now. The most important thing you need to secure politically in a society is people. If you don't have people, you don't have a society. That's literally just not even politics 101, it's common sense. Yet, with Korea, with one of the lowest birth rates in the world, marriage rates declining, birth rates not high at all. Birth rates are 0.7, 0.8, depending on the study. Where you need to be encouraging more childbirths and having more children. Why are you trying to expand access to killing babies? You need to be encouraging having more babies, not killing babies. This is national suicide. This is civilizational collapse. This is literally a betrayal of the Korean people. And of course, the Korean people, a lot of them so consumed by materialism and individualism, think that, oh yeah, this is just a byproduct of what needs to happen. I need to be able to kill my baby. I need to be able to have sex no matter what. Yeah, like this is gonna exacerbate the problem. Because why? There's no incentive for men and women to get married anymore. What used to be the incentive, especially for men, but incentive to get married? Well, marriage is the institution in which you have sex and you find love and you have children. But if you don't need to be married to have sex anymore, if you don't need to be married to have children anymore, what's the point of marriage? There's no point in getting married. You can sleep around with whoever you want. You go from next girl to next girl, from next guy to next guy, have no commitment. And then if you ever get banged up as a woman, you can just kill your child. Just take a pill and kill the child. No problem. Allowing for abortion results in more degeneracy. Think about it. All the expats to come to Korea to just sleep with women, or think about all the sleazy guys who just sleep around with women. Yeah, abortion gives them a safe pathway towards freedom to do whatever the heck they want to use and abuse women. And in the same way, abortion gives women, degenerate women, whores, a way to whore out their body, to do whatever they want with their body, coerce men, hurt men. Because why? They could just kill the baby if they end up getting pregnant. Like, this is why I don't understand. I was at the pro-life movement, the March for Life in Korea 3 months ago, right? And most of the people there were Catholic. And so most of the pro-lifers in Korea are Catholic, but most of the Catholics there, and most of the Catholics vote left-wing in Korea. They vote for Minjudang. They vote for Lee Jae-myung. They like Lee Jae-myung. And I'm like, how? Like, both parties aren't super, like, anti-abortion. The PPP is more pro-family and a little more anti-abortion than the Minjudang. But how are you as a Catholic pro-lifer supposed to vote and endorse the Liberal Democratic Party, the Democratic Party, like in Korea? Because they are pro-abortion. Lee Jae-myung is trying to expand access to abortion. So if you want less babies to die and you want more children to be born, we cannot have abortion pill access for all people. We need to restrict it. Restrict it. And I know it's politically not viable. I get that, but we have to. This is not a time right now in Korea to opine about the political viability of banning abortion. Why? Because literally you have the lowest birth rates in the world. Korea is literally on the brink of civilizational collapse, where Korea became one of the richest countries in the world overnight, and now it's about to die. Because there's no people, there's no Koreans, there's no next generation of Koreans. What generation of next generation of Koreans are you fighting for? Are you doing politics for? If you're not even having children, if people in Korea are not having children, this is what right-wingers in Korea need to understand. This is why Yoon Suk-yeol, as much as President Yoon was a fighter for democracy and for Korea, and he was good on certain issues, yeah, he cannot be the paragon of the right wing. He had no children. He had no children. Well, we need examples in society to show us that, yes, like having lots of children is a good thing. It's a good thing. You need to have children or else you can't have a society. What are we doing here, folks? What are we doing? So I do hope that Korea wakes up, and there needs to be a new movement in Korea that is family first and is nationalist and is Korea first, because at this point, like the trajectory of Korean politics right now, Korea is going to die. So pray for Korea, pray for the pro-life movement in Korea, pray that abortion is made illegal, because right now as it stands, abortion, they haven't actually legislated on this, because the courts ruled that abortion is allowed for any period of gestation at any time in the pregnancy. So you can abort your child for any reason whenever you want during your pregnancy in Korea. And so they haven't codified it into law, but because the courts ruled on that 5 years ago, that's just kind of what it is right now. So tons of Korean women are getting abortions, and it's bad. It's bad. So if you can't even you're not supposed to, if you're in a crisis, population crisis in Korea, say, oh yeah, let's expand more access to abortion because, oh, we want them to take it safely. No, we don't even want to take them at all. They shouldn't be taking it at all, because you need to have children. Do not kill babies. Have babies. So pray for Korea. Hopefully things change, but we will see. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the culture on media. Viva la Argentina! Vamos, muchachos! Argentina won yesterday in a stellar, electric game against England. What a game! The first half, nothing happened, and then you had, in the beginning of the second half, England scored. It was a very great goal, spectacular goal, by the way. And then throughout the entirety of the second half, nothing was happening. I was like, dang, Argentina's about to lose. And then at the 86-minute mark, boom! Got a goal. And then at the 92-minute mark, boom! Another goal. Lionel Messi, 2 assists right there. Boom. Clutch. Argentina always coming back from being behind. I mean, this guy is, this team is so clutch. And this is why it makes watching them so exciting, because it's oh shoot, you're on the edge of your seat, you don't know what's gonna happen. And then boom, they come out of nowhere and they score. So Argentina won. Lionel Messi is the undisputed GOAT. Most World Cup games played, most World Cup goals scored, most assists in World Cup history. You cannot say that he is not the greatest to ever play soccer of all time. We love to see it. Lionel Messi is the GOAT. He also loves Jesus. He loves his family. He's a good father and a good husband. He loves the Lord. He gives glory to God every single time. What a patriot. What a Christian. What a great believer. A soldier of Christ. We love to see it. His influence is great. He's a good guy. We love to see it. Now, I do want to talk about, though, the Argentinian hate. So the Argentinian hate is really, really bad online. If you see online, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on X, TikTok, the third world, they absolutely despise Argentina. Third worlders hate Argentina. Now, third worlders, their favorite sport is soccer. It's the world sport, and it's an easy sport to play because all you need is a ball. But they hate Argentina. But why? Why do they hate Argentina? Do they just hate greatness? That's part of it. Are they just seething with bitterness and jealousy because Argentina does well in soccer? That's part of it. But ultimately, this is why the third world hates Argentina. I looked into this recently, yesterday, and did you know that Argentinians are predominantly of European descent? So Italian and Spanish descent. 97% of Argentinians is European and mestizo, which means they have indigenous South American blood in them. So 97% of Argentina is European / indigenous. Like the remaining 2% is like actual indigenous. And then you have less than 1%, like 0.4% is black. And then the rest is like Asian and all other ethnicities. So Argentina is a homogeneous country. It's a homogeneous country. And most of its people are European. Like they are primarily of European descent. And on top of that, Argentina is 80% Christian. With I think 60% around being Catholic and then 20% being Protestant. So Argentina is a very white country, a European country, and is a Christian country. And you saw in that photo, the woman, right? Argentina was also voted with the prettiest soccer fans. Let's just pull up the picture one more time. You see them. I mean, they're pretty. Like, if you look at the camera footage of all the women that they panned on, the young Argentinian women, they're pretty. And so why does the third world hate Argentina? Because they're European, they're Christian, and they're capable. They're excellent in soccer. They're a developing and very, much more orderly society in Latin America compared to other Latin American countries. Not the best, but definitely better. They're beautiful. Argentinian woman. Beautiful, you can't deny that. And so that's why the third worldists hate Argentina. The same reason why they hate America, they hate Europe, European countries, because they hate European civilization, they hate Western civilization, they hate Christendom, they hate Christ. It's that simple. People don't need to overcomplicate it. They always hide it behind, Argentinians are this, Argentinians act this way. No, it's because they just hate magnanimous Western civilization. They just hate it because it's all out of envy, bitterness, resentment, covetousness. That's why they hate it. They hate greatness, they hate beauty because they can't have it, they don't create it. So they have nothing to do except react in their squalor and the filth with envy and jealousy. That's why they constantly still they self-identify with their colonized status. So they're colonized, and they always see Europeans as colonizers. That's why they hate Argentina. They're like, how do you adopt your colonizer identity? Well, who cares? They're like, whatever. We're going to do what we do. We're 80% Christian. We're 97% European heritage. Yeah, we just embrace it. And we created a new identity for ourselves. We are Argentinians. I mean, that's so based. What? They hate that. They hate right-wing principles. They hate greatness. They hate Christianity. They hate European civilization. So that's why Argentina gets so much hate online. And if you just peruse X, you peruse TikTok, you see video, post after post. A third world is seething that Argentina won. And it's funny, it's to the point where third worldists were voting for and rooting for England over Argentina, even though England was the oppressor and the colonizer under the British Empire for many, many years. They voted for England. Why? Because you look at the English team, it's like they're half black. And then so they cheer on and they self-identify with the colonized versus they look at Argentina and they're mostly just white looking. Okay, we hate these guys. And so you want to talk about the actual racists out there? You want to talk about the people who hate people based on the color of their skin? Yeah, it's not us. It's not patriots. It's not Christians. It's third worldist pagans who are jealous, who are bitter, and they project their own insecurities, their moral failings, and their failures onto us. Now, we had this guy named Mohammed Hijab. What a name. Out of all the names to have, how unfortunate your name is. Mohammed Hijab. Argentina are playing dirty as usual. Sorry. Christ won. Christians won this round. Muslims get wrecked. See ya. Look at this meme. Lionel Messi kicking a soccer ball into London with the Islam flag. I mean, we love to see it. Base Christian patriots win over a Muslim country. Oh, those memes are crazy. Those memes go crazy. So yeah, it's just we like to see it. I said this when Argentina beat France. Wait, it was France, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm like losing my mind right now. And it's like, no, they beat Egypt. Sorry, Egypt. And I was like, oh yeah, base Christian patriots beat like inbred Muslims. And I also said yesterday that thank you Argentina for beating the last Muslim country. And of course they're going against Spain now, which Spain, there's a huge influx of Muslims in Spain. But you look at this Spain national team, yeah, they're mostly Spanish actually. They have like one or two black guys, which is like, but yeah, they're mostly Spanish, which is arguably so much better than all European teams. You look at France, like the entire French team is just African. But the thing is, like, it's not to politicize the World Cup, but the World Cup is political inherently because why? It is the best representatives of each respective nation coming to compete against one another. So it is inherently political. And the performance of these athletes, the comments of these athletes, they are inherently political and they are a reflection of the zeitgeist of what their culture and their country currently believes. So it is, yes, political. And at the end of the day, looks like this World Cup, and I may make a long-form video talking about this because I really do want to delve into this, that this World Cup is one of the best World Cups because it is showing the world that actually you don't need diversity to win. You don't need diversity to win. Of course, Norway was robbed, so that sucked. But Norway, the Norwegian team is mostly Norwegian. You look at the Argentinian team, they're just Argentinian. You don't need diversity to win. And actually, if you start to import foreigners in hopes of winning, then you've lost, in my opinion. Now, last thing I'll say is this guy, Daniel Kabede, he's this libtard in the UK, said this. If England beat Argentina tomorrow and reach the World Cup final, remember, it will be multiracial England that has won. England in all its diversity, not the narrow, exclusionary vision of England that Farage, Lowe, and Robinson and others are trying to create. Well, they lost. They lost. So, because they lost, I think, according to your logic, we can blame diversity for the loss, can we not? And just look at this team, chat. Look at this team, okay? What team would you think this is? If you didn't see the jersey, if you didn't know what team it was. Like, I would think it's America. Because, again, America at its founding had white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and West Africans. Majority white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and a minority West Africans. So, do I have a problem with black people on the USA team? Absolutely not. No problem there. But you would look at this and you would think this is America. But it's not. It's England. And England is being overrun and replaced. The English are being overrun and replaced. So leftists love to beat their chest about we need foreigners and we need the best and brightest from the third world to win soccer games, to win sports games. Okay. Let's even grant you that argument. Well, you're not winning sports games. France lost to Spain. England lost to Argentina. Diverse teams are losing to non-diverse teams. Yeah, maybe don't hide behind winning sports teams as a reason to displace your people and completely replace your people in their own home. Yeah, we're tired of that. No more diversity. We want difference. Like, what is the point of the World Cup if it's just Africans from one country going against Africans from another country? Can we apply that? And they say I'm racist for this. Okay, let's apply it separately. What if we just had Chinese from one country competing against Chinese from another country? Would you be okay with that? I wouldn't. If we had white people of one, and white people are different, right? Because they're very diverse. But let's say you had, let's say in this example, white people in Korea going against white people from the Congo. Like, at what point are we gonna say, oh, it's just everyone's the same? Like, there's no substantial difference there. And I actually value diversity. I want nations to remain and stay distinct. And that requires us to say things that are, yes, I get it, unpopular and not digestible in the current modern liberal culture that we live in and inhabit. But we are different. Our nations are different, and there's nothing wrong. It's actually a good thing to preserve your nation for its people, its ancestral and traditional people. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's actually a good thing. It's a good thing. So yes, I don't want to see white people play in Korea on the Korean team. I don't want to see Chinese people play on the French team. And I don't know. Am I hateful for that? I don't think so. But then just because it's black and brown people replacing white and Asian countries, somehow we're racist for saying that. We're done with the labels. I'm just going to say the truth because the truth will set you free. And there are more important things than being offended on the internet and being scared of offending people on the internet. But we love Argentina. We are rooting for Argentina on Sunday against Spain. May Argentina win. We also like Spain, but I mean, Argentina needs to win because it will be the nail in the coffin for diversity in soccer and also for Christ to be king on the world stage. We love to see it. Argentina won last time. Let's have them win again. Two-peat. It might be Messi's last World Cup. Let's end with the banger. We love you, Messi. We are a Messi Glaze channel. That's what we are. All right, so this went viral the other day, and it is about women's sports. So, right now, new broadcasting guidelines for women's athletics have been released to crack down on camera angles and slow-motion replays that sexualize athletes. The guidelines highlight shots broadcasters are urged to avoid. So right here, they can't have under their butt shots. They can't have when they're bending down. They can't have shots of the female athletes. I think we live in clown world. We live in clown world. And here's the thing. I'm going to piss off everyone by saying this. Women need to wear some clothes. And I am not against appreciating and uplifting the human form, right? Some of the greatest pieces of art depict even nude depictions of women, but those are depictions. They're not actually women. Like, we shouldn't have women going around showing their butts and their boobs in public. Why? Because modesty is a virtue, and modesty, I think the Catechism of the Catholic Church talks about modesty in a really, really great way, in that modesty is concealing that which should remain hidden and should only be revealed in due time and in the proper context. I'm kind of butchering it there, but that's essentially what the Catechism says, and I think that's true. That's what modesty is, where what is, like, the woman form is beautiful, right? And the female body is just inherently sexual, and God created it that way, and that's not a bad thing, but who is it for? And it should not be for, right, the gooning of mass hordes of men on the internet. A woman's beauty is for her husband. And so there's nothing wrong with appreciating the female body, of course, but each individual woman, aside from very rare exceptions, they're all meant to be wedded to one man. And so her body, her beauty, her sexuality should be reserved and hidden for her husband. Oh, you're such a trad. I'm not a trad. This is just basic anthropology. And this is also, if you're a Christian, you also should believe this. This is just Christianity 101. But at the same time, I also acknowledge they're doing this not because they want to not sexualize women anymore. They're not doing this to protect women anymore. They're doing it because they hate beauty, right? They see a lot of these broadcasters and these globalist shills and these unelected bureaucrats, they see women and all these activists, they see beautiful women who, right, get the attention of the male gaze with their nice curves and their figures and their smiles. They're really pretty, and they hate that. So they want to eliminate that because they hate beauty. So the reason why they're implementing these changes in these broadcast guidelines is not because they don't want to sexualize women anymore. It's because they hate beautiful women. That's what it is. I acknowledge that. But at the same time, It's not the broadcasting guidelines that need to change. It's just the nature of women's sports needs to change entirely. And so my friend Tanner Cartwright says this, and I think this is actually very apropos. You only have 3 options: sexualize women's sports, subsidize women's sports, and get rid of women's sports. Literally, no one is watching women because they're good at competitive sports, because they're not. Women were made to be helpers and baby makers, and they are amazing at it. Yes, this is true in the design. We talked about this earlier in our Amy Coney Barrett segment, that they are designed. God created women to be the helpmates of men. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And so you have 3 options. Either sexualize women's sports, because that's literally the only reason why men watch, by the way. You subsidize it because it doesn't bring in any money, or you get rid of it. And like we discussed before, I am for getting rid of women's sports. If you are to only, if it only can exist if you subsidize it, it shouldn't exist in the first place. But like I said, like competitive high impact contact sports are functionally transgender, because women are not meant to be competitive against each other. They're not meant to be aggressive. They're meant to be gentle and quiet in spirit, like it says in 1 Peter 3. They're meant to be gentle, cooperative, submissive. I know that's a very oogie boogie term. It's a very scary term, but that's how God created us differently. Women for that, and men to be competitors, to be the combatants, to be the warriors, and to be the fighters. And so the only way that women's sports has any appeal is if you sexualize it. But do we want women to be sexualized? I don't. I certainly don't. And there is a way you can appreciate the female body and appreciate the human form without sexualizing people. It is possible. But in our day and age today, with the mass proliferation of pornography, hardcore pornography, it is near impossible. The average male brain has been so thoroughly rotted by pornography. So, yes, we should desexualize women's sports, but also we should probably just get rid of all of it and actually not incentivize women to pursue professional sports where they have to exert their body to the point where they struggle with infertility, but actually we should incentivize them to be the helpmates and good mothers, helpmates of husbands, of men, and also to be good wives and mothers. And so I saw this meme about a response to this, and they're like, oh, this is what it's about to look like soon. It's just women in their hijabs and their burqas, right, playing volleyball. USA versus France there in their burqas. And that's the thing, like I am not so trad where I'm like, oh, women need to cover up everything, even their ankles. I'm like, it's fine to show a wrist. I'm actually pretty moderate when it comes to modesty. I actually even think it's okay to show a little shoulder. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too lipped-hearted there, but I think it's fine. As long as you're not showing like cleavage in your butt and too much excesses of your like legs. Like I think it's okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too naive in that way, but it's like I don't think women should cover up everything. They shouldn't certainly cover up their faces. I think women, like, they should be able to show their face at least. Like, how dehumanizing is it to just cover up your entire face and you walk around like this? But there needs to be a conversation about how women, yes, need to put on some clothes. Just put on some clothes if you're going to compete in sports. You don't need to literally just wear underwear. And people always say, no, they need to do that because that's just standard attire. It's not. You look at all the guidelines for acceptable attire for women's sports. That's how these women from Muslim countries can wear their burqa and their hijabs and still play. So women put on some clothes, and women, they love the attention. So women, I don't think they will, which is why it's incumbent on men to enforce a certain degree of standards of dress and decorum for women to not just walk around with their butts hanging out. Like, literally, you look at track meets, you look at volleyball games, you look at beach volleyball games. The things that women are wearing, they're not even wearing anything. Like, can you imagine if men were playing sports like that? Just wearing a thong and just playing with a thong. It's so preposterous. It is so cringe and disgusting for men to do that. Like, oh, I don't know why we think it's okay for women to do that. And it's okay because, yes, I get it. Like, their body is good to look at. It's nice to look at. And if they're beautiful, it's like nice. Yeah, but it's again, like what is their body for? Their body is for their husband. And so it should be hidden and preserved and shielded for their husband. And that's what it's for. So I'm all for upholding beauty and appreciating the human form, but also at the same time, we can do so while advocating for modesty in society. I'm going to piss off everyone with that, but I don't know. I think that's just the truth. What do you want me to do? I'm a truth teller. I'm a humble truth teller out here. So yes, woman, put on some clothes. You don't have to be butt naked when you play sports. It is not necessary. And at the same time, like let's not just cater towards the lowest common denominator. It's okay to uphold beauty in society, especially female beauty, because that's literally what motivates men, does it not? Like beautiful women. But it has to be in the proper context. And with the proper rails, so you have healthy expressions of male and female sexuality. Last thing we'll talk about is the Odyssey. The Odyssey is out. The reviews are in. We see the leaks, but I want to first react to our dear Latino actor over here talking about more Latino representation in Greek Odyssey.
What's been your Odyssey in terms of fighting for your identity or your Hollywood career?
Well, it's always been a battle. I mean, Hollywood is not the most accepting place. Even though we Latin people are 30 to 40% of the box office and a third of streamers, we're still not represented. We're the most aggressively underrepresented group in America. So that's been my Odyssey, to try to bring some parity.
What's been your...
These people are so insecure. They're so insecure. It is so unbelievable how they constantly need representation. I need to see myself. I need to see someone who looks like me on the screen. They're not comfortable in their own skin. And by the way, can we just... When Homer wrote the Odyssey a few thousand years ago, Latinos didn't even exist. Because the conquistadors didn't come to Latin America to conquer it. There was no colonization of the Americas when the epic Greek poem, the Odyssey and the Iliad were written. So why do you need Latino representation in the Odyssey? What about the Greeks? This is not a whataboutism. If we're talking about faithful representation, how come there are 0 Greek actors cast in main roles for the Odyssey? We're talking about representation. The Greeks were completely screwed over with this. It should have been all Greek people, and at the very least, all Europeans. It's like, I will apply this logic till the day I die. Like, is it right for Koreans to demand representation in Black Panther? Should all of Wakanda be Korean? Should we have some Koreans in Wakanda? Let's do that. Actually, why not have some black people in Mulan? You need to be represented, right? And it's just like these people are so full of themselves. And the hypocrisy of him complaining about Latino representation and saying we are so underrepresented and this is my Odyssey. Meanwhile, not even considering how all the Greeks were snubbed. All Greek actors were snubbed from this movie. When all the roles should have gone to them, if you're casting faithfully for the source material and where it comes from. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, the reviews are out. It's like, what, 97% or something on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics love it because they shill for Christopher Nolan because Christopher Nolan has notoriety. He's an overrated director, in my opinion. And this movie, there's nothing good about it. And so here's a screenshot of the Helen of Troy. Okay, this is an actual scene. This is the Helen of Troy. This is supposed to be the face that launched 1,000 ships. Well, I would venture to say that this is actually the face that emptied 1,000 theaters. Some people are calling her Felon of Troy. Others are calling her Felon of Detroit. And the memes coming out of this are spectacular. Do we have another one? So, this is the meme from a woman, I think 2 years ago, who's slashing a Virginia Asian cop. And she's like, she got the screenshot from the body cam footage. And people are saying that this screenshot of the movie, this scene from the movie, it is indistinguishable from body cam footage we see from police officers. And I don't know, man. It really is. It really, really is. Next, right here, look. Has there been a bigger self-own for leftists and advocates for radical or racial justice reform than the introduction of police body cams? And it's like, it looks like a body cam footage. Like, it looks like literally it comes out of a police having to respond to a violent criminal. It's hilarious. Yes, a face that emptied 1,000 theaters. And it's just like literally, I'm not even saying like Lupita Nyong'o is like the ugliest person alive, but she is not fit for the role. No one actually thinks she is so beautiful. It launched 1,000 ships. Meanwhile, we had Diane Kruger from the 2004 movie Troy, German actress. I mean, yes, she's not Greek. I get it, but do I have to say anything more? Look how beautiful she is. She's gorgeous. She is absolutely stunning. So yes, cast for the role appropriately, because yes, some people are prettier and more fit for certain roles than other people. And I'm so sick of the race swapping, the egalitarian nonsense where we say, oh, we're all beautiful. No, we're not all beautiful. You're not beautiful if you're butt ugly. But why couldn't we cast someone like Diane Kruger? There's a plethora of beautiful European, beautiful Greek actresses, and you had to cast an African. There's a comparison right here. Look at this. Expectations. So that's Anya Taylor, whatever her name is. Her eyes are a little too far apart from me, but it's okay. She's still pretty. And you had this as the expectation. I mean, even her, if she played that, I think it was Anya Taylor-Joy. She played Princess Peach in the Mario movie. That would have been infinitely better than this. I mean, seriously, are we really thinking that the woman on the right is such a beautiful woman whose face launched 1,000 ships? And this is what communists do. They tell you not to believe your eyes, the things that you see, only believe the dogma of the party, or else you'll be excommunicated and destroyed. And that's what they do. They call you a hateful person for saying, oh, you don't think that she's beautiful? You're racist. You're racist. You just hate black people. It's like, no, the person who's supposed to be cast for the most beautiful woman should be beautiful. So unbelievable. And now there's actually leaks of Ellen Page's short scene in the Odyssey that was released, and every single clip has been taken down by Christopher Nolan and his production team and been striked with DMCA violations. But there is this meme, and I assure you, this meme is indistinguishable from how Elliot Page actually runs in the movie. Watch this. Literally, if you watch the scene in the movie, you can probably find the clip. It's still circulating on X. The way that she runs like this. And you all know, chat, we all know that women and men run differently. Men run like this, right? Think about Tom Cruise running. And then women run like this, right? Like Elliot Page is literally running like this in the movie. And so in the movie, by the way, there's no Achilles. Spoiler alert, which I don't think you guys care. But Elliot Page plays Sinon in place of Achilles. And Sinon is not part of the Odyssey. But Christopher Nolan introduced Sinon in replace of Achilles to play the role of Achilles. And then, like, in actuality, what happens? She's running, and then she gets shot by arrows and dies. So it's literally this. This literally this meme by my friend Dr. Clown PhD. Just make sure not to play the credits, but it's just this. It's literally this in the movie. No, I can't hear it. That's literally the scene in the movie. That's what's happening in the Odyssey. There's this other meme from my friend Dr. Clown PhD. This is so funny. Wait, how come I can't hear the audio? Oh, this one has no sound? Oh, really? Oh, it's not this one. Yeah, if you play the sound, it's really funny. I like the sound. Of course, making fun of how small Elliot Page is. Can we play the next meme? These AI memes are so funny. Like, I would gladly take a hit to RAM prices if this is the kind of content we get from AI. Look at this one. This is from my friend Xurius.
Up first, he's looking graceful as he gets ready to launch into a triple backflip. Here he goes.
With Erling Haaland right there.
Up first, he's
so funny. I think we have one more. Is that it? I think that's it. And so basically look at this video of Elliot Page walking, okay? No one actually believes that this is a man. No one actually believes it. Has the frame of a woman, has the stature of a woman. Look at this. So frail, so small.
up first, he's looking graceful as he gets ready to launch into a triple backflip. Here he goes.
No one believes this is a woman. No one. I mean, no one believes this is a man, sorry. This is a woman. No one believes that this is a man. And so we also have this video right here. This is Elliot Page posing for Entertainment Weekly with her girlfriend.
Right center. Start right here.
Like, she's shorter than her girlfriend. But you cannot tell me that this small, petite woman is a man. That's not a man. That you like, don't, like, the gaslighting is so insane. And then just look at this evolution. I want you to look at this evolution and just see how terrible it is. Look, Ellen Page was really cute. This cute petite girl making it big in Hollywood. She's cute. Like, she's pretty. And she's normal. And she's growing into a young woman. She's cute. And then I think this is the wokeness. The wokeness, this is where it starts. You see it. Right here, boom. And now she literally looks really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. And of course, it comes with age, with wrinkles and things like that. But also just the life is sucked out of her eyes. And it's so sad. And that's what leftism does. It robs your vitality. It robs your soul. And it just makes you a hollow husk. It's really, really sad. And so people keep saying it's mean, and I actually feel deep sorrow for this. Because she was a fine young lady. And I don't know if it was the abuse she endured in Hollywood, or it's just because of a social contagion. But her trying to be like a man, she obviously clearly looks much more unwell, mentally unstable than when she was younger. And she was a woman comfortable in her own body. So the irony of transgenderism, the lie of transgenderism, is that it tells you that you need to accept yourself for who you are, but it tells you that if you don't accept yourself for who you are, then something has to change, right? If you can't accept yourself for who you are, it has to change. And they constantly say, no, this is me accepting who I truly am, but you're not. You have to change who you are to become who you think you are. And in actuality, what happens? Well, you're just beholden to hormones and medication for the rest of your life while you struggle with identity and self-worth. So actually, as much as we make fun of Elliot Page, we should pray for her. Ellen Page, Elliot Page, whatever you call her, because it's sad. It really is sad. Okay, that does it for our show today. I do believe that we will get into our Q&A now. Before we end things, make sure to leave a super chat so we read your comment live on air. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Do all those things if you like this show. Also, comment down below if you'd like me to talk about any other issues or reformat the show in any way. We are always ready and listening to feedback. We are answering your questions now from Instagram and on X, and also any super chats you have. So first question comes from XHOZ37 on Instagram. Kangmin, will the left ever finally see its collapse in our lifetimes? This is all contingent upon men. Men stepping up and doing what they need to do. And of course, we want women to step down to allow men to do what they need to do. And of course, women are not devoid of responsibility in any way. But we need men. It's going to be the men who change society and shift society in a better direction. And so the problem with the red pill is that they describe problems correctly in terms of male and female relations, but then their solution is what? To either turn out, to sleep around with a lot of women, get a lot of wealth, to become materialistic and greedy and lustful, or to just like opt out of the whole system together. And the solution has to be what? Be a strong man, be a courageous one, take risks, marry a beautiful woman, have children, lots of children, and you can take back this country. But ultimately, if men continue to cower in fear and men continue to simp for women, I don't think the left will collapse because the left controls everything right now. Aside from a few administrative positions in our government, truly the left controls everything because most of the GOP right now is also libtarded. So if you want to truly collapse the left and destroy and defeat the left, it has to be strong, young male patriots, young men rising up, being bold for the truth, uncompromising and unequivocal about their convictions, rooted in the Word of God, in timeless tradition, and in goodness, truth, and beauty. That's what we need to do. And that's what men need to do. And it's unless men take up the mantle and be strong and courageous, disciplined, say no to their temptations and their carnal desires, we're not going to see the left collapse. So this is all contingent on men stepping up and doing what is right in the eyes of the Lord and also for their country and their families. So yes, I do think it can collapse because the left has played their hand and they've gotten so insane. But even all the tenets of normie liberals and normie conservatives is also pretty insane if you think about it. We talked about the idol of egalitarianism today on the show, and most normie conservatives also adopt this framing and this thinking that men and women are the same. They don't say it. And if you tell them, hey, you think men and women are the same, don't you? They'll deny it. They're like, no, we're definitely different. But in every functional way except for biology, most normie conservatives think that men and women are the same. So we have to tear down the idol of egalitarianism if we're able to, and if we are ever to reclaim our civilization from the left. But it really all just comes down to men. It really does. This is why I don't excuse men. I always hold men to a higher standard, even as I criticize the faults and the sins and the lifestyles of modern women. But it has to be men. And men, stop simping, get your act together, take back this country, build wealth, build connections, better yourself, get in the gym, lose weight. Don't be a stick, but also don't be a lard. Be strong, be courageous, be a good, strong, desirable man. And if more men did that, I do believe that things could get better, which is why I don't always countersignal Andrew Tate. I have, voiced my opposition and my criticism of him publicly, but I don't constantly countersignal him because who else in the modern era, aside from Jordan and Peterson, has galvanized men so powerfully to get into the gym to better themselves? It's Andrew Tate. And I'm not condoning everything that he does or says, but I won't waste my time counter-signaling him because he has done more objectively to get men to get off their butts and to be stronger and better versions of themselves than a lot of mainstream evangelical big Eva pastors like Russell Moore or David French. So that's the truth, Nuke, right there. But thank you for your question. Next question comes from X. Our next question on X, it is from Arichi. Arichi says, I can't see the question. Oh, okay. What's your biggest red flag / deal breaker when it comes to dating a woman? This is a great, great question. Oh, man. My biggest red flag and deal breaker, at least for me, and I think this applies to a lot of people, if she is rebellious. Like, there's really no fixing that except for like the Holy Spirit, I think, if she has a really rebellious spirit. And this is maybe unpopular opinion. This is why I stay away from women in the conservative movement, because if you are a political influencer, if you're a politician, if you're on the front lines fighting in the culture and political war, you inherently have a political spirit. Because if you're a right-wing political influencer as a woman, you have to be rebellious against the liberal hegemony. You have to go against the grain, against the liberalism that pervades every single part of our culture. And so that's my biggest red flag. Because why? I want a woman who can support me and be my helpmate and submit to the authority that God has given me as a husband and as a head of the household. But if she is rebellious, if she is cantankerous, obnoxious, always like finds ways to pick fights with me, yeah, like that's my biggest red flag. Where there's like tons of girls that I've dated and had so much fun with, but at the end of the day, they were so rebellious. They found ways to make everything a problem. They found ways to make everything about themselves. Where, hey, I'm trying to do work, and they complain that I'm not texting back enough. And I'm like, dude, I text you like nonstop. I call you every day. But then because I'm not texting them constantly while I'm working, they get frustrated. Yeah, like that's what I'm talking about, right? Where it's all about me, but ultimately rebellious. Like they can't support and submit to what it is that God has called me to do as a provider and a protector. And that's my biggest red flag. I think that's my biggest red flag and deal breaker, if she has a rebellious spirit. Because she's been so thoroughly infected with feminism that that's going to be a really big headache. And it's going to take a long time to root out. And if you bring that into a marriage, no bueno, man. Like I want peace in the home. I want the home to be a place where I can have peace after I wore it out and I, toil in the world and on the front lines. I want to be able to come home and to have peace. And that's the best kind of woman, right? A woman where as a man, you're toiling, you're fighting, and you come back home and she just gives you peace. And she's pleasant, she's lovely, that's the kind of woman I want. So a woman with a rebellious spirit, that's my biggest red flag. I actually don't think it's problematic if a woman is center left. That actually should be center left. If they're a crazy leftoid who is marching on the streets with blue hair and short hair, like that's a problem because they've been so captured by left-wing ideology. But you should expect your woman to be kind of center left because that's just kind of the zeitgeist we live in. But also, like you want a woman who like embraces your femininity. And you can find that kind of woman who is a bit center left because you want a woman who is conformist because that is in their nature. Like there's a video today actually from Kai Trump. She's at the ESPYs right now. And they asked her about politics and sports. And she said, well, I try to stay out of politics. I don't really do politics. I just like sports and I like golfing. And I'm like, yeah, that's a healthy female temperament. That's actually normal, well-adjusted female behavior. Because for a woman to be so entrenched and in the weeds of politics, yeah, that's like androgynous. Like that's kind of like, that's functionally transgender. Like women aren't supposed to do that. And I'd rather a woman who, like, I don't want a dimwit, right? Again, like that's also a bad thing for me, a red flag. If a woman's a dimwit, because you're not supposed to be a dimwit, and how am I supposed to trust you with my children? And how am I supposed to build a life together with you if you're like stupid? Like I don't like airheaded girls either. Like I don't like the girls like oopsies. Like I don't like those girls either. But like a woman who is smart, who is intelligent, who understands her place and the proper role of men and women, while also not concerning herself with the things of men, and instead focusing on what she is good at and what God has gifted her at. That's the kind of woman I want. So dear viewer, please, my brothers in Christ, avoid a rebellious woman. She is by and large going to cause a lot of problems for you. And even if you're a more introverted guy and she's a more extroverted woman, that's fine. But a woman can be a little more loud and a little more like, not loud per se, but a little more outgoing and extroverted, but still not have a rebellious spirit. And I do find that at least like extroverted women tend to have more of a rebellious spirit, but I have seen godly women who are extroverted and very people persons, but they love the Lord and they're very submissive. So it can be done. You can find it. She's out there. Do not blackpill ever. And find yourself a godly, beautiful wife, dear viewer. All right, we have a few super chats. Let's get to our first super chat. Thank you, Kodiak, for your $2. Don't let Kangmin find out about Queen Seondeok. Yeah, so Seondeok Yeowang was a part of the Silla dynasty, and she was known as, what's it called? A great empress in the Silla dynasty. And like I said, I talked about this before, right? Where there are going to be exceptions to the rule, but then throw out the rule in order to accommodate the exceptions. Like, we can't run a society that way. We're not supposed to run a society that way. And as we've done so, right, things have gotten like drastically worse in all aspects. They do the same thing in the church, right? It's like, oh, look at Deborah. Deborah was a judge. Therefore, women can all be reverends and leaders in the church. It's like, no, like that's not how it works. The Bible is very clear that women are to learn in quietness and submission to their husbands at home. They're not to exercise authority over men. Oh, but what about Deborah? Yes, there's exceptions that exist for a reason. God makes very few exceptions, but by and large, the vast majority, 98, 99% of women are not fit for politics, and that's okay. Same thing with men. Like, it's like, oh, you think men are, yeah, you're going to have exceptions for men and weird male behavior as well. That's why you have the strange guys who, like typical guy behavior is like, oh, we're joking around. We crack some jokes, like offensive jokes. We make fun of each other, and that's how guys bond. It's like, oh, you're so ugly. Stop being so fat. And you're retarded. And that's how guys talk to each other in private. And that's how they get along. They bond over that. And you're occasionally going to have the guy who's so like sensitive and get offended by everything. Yeah, of course. But by and large, it doesn't negate the general rule. So, yeah, like it's not like I don't know history. I know Korean history. It's just like, yeah, Seondeok Yeowang. Okay, but like, is she remembered as and revered as the best Korean king in Korean best ruler in Korean history, or is it more like Sejongdaewang? Yeah, it's always going to be men. Like, you're going to have fine female rulers, a very select few, but all the greatest men, all the greatest rulers, all the greatest philosophers, all the greatest warriors, all the greatest generals, all the greatest scientists and innovators, leaders have always been, by and large, men. It's like 0.001% women who fit into that. Yeah, because, again, there are exceptions, not the rule. But the exceptions prove the rule, but then if we're taking the exception to change the rule, that's when everything goes to shite. All right, $5 from Kodiak as well. My mother has upheld the family business, is stronger and wiser than me in many ways, and the toughest person I know. Think about that. Again, it's like that's so like spiritually feminine. My mom is this way, therefore what you're saying is wrong. It's like I literally just said that there are exceptions to the rule. There are a few women in my life that I deeply respect and I learn from. But mainly, they are like, what, nuns? They are women who chose to be celibate. Yeah, and for those exceptions, sure, exceptions exist. And yes, like, it doesn't mean that young men cannot learn from older, wiser women. I'm not saying that can't exist, but we're talking on a broad scale and as a broad general rule and how to order society. We cannot, right, change all of society to accommodate the exceptions. And most of the wisest women that I know in my life all agree with me. They all agree with me. They use their intellect to affirm the creation order that God has instated. So, yeah, like I'm not saying that women are retarded. Like, I'm not saying that women are stupid, but by and large, women are not fit. They're not designed for politics. And it's like, my mother's upheld the family business. Okay, like, that's fine. Like, she can work. No one's saying that women cannot work either. But that's a completely different argument than saying that they should adjudicate on cases and rules and laws in the country, be on the highest court of the land. Like, that's a completely different argument. All right. Lastly, Obi-Wan for $5. What's up, Kangmin? You're my favorite Korean bro. Kind of crazy how some people on the right are counter-signaling Vance. Come on, guys, like, take the W. So true, Obi-Wan. I don't trust the people who are counter-signaling Vance. Like, I get their arguments in terms of J.D. Vance was mentored by Peter Thiel, and he has ties to Palantir, and on top of that, he has a wife, and his in-laws are Indian, and so that might, mess with his dual loyalty and possible dual loyalty. I get all those concerns. Those concerns are all valid. But J.D. Vance is so good on the issues. He is one of the best vice presidents we've ever had, ever. He is so articulate, And he's not as charismatic as Trump, but this guy knows what to do, how to navigate conversations, and he understands it. He's a post-liberal. He is an actual authentic conservative. He is not some neo-lib or neocon. Like, he understands the issues. He understands what's important. And remember, his first speech after becoming vice president, he spoke at the March for Life and said, the measure of a healthy society is not GDP, right? It's the health of families and communities. Boom. I'm like, dude, JD Vance is our guy. He is literally our guy. So you can criticize him. You can voice concerns about him. That's all valid. And I get it. I understand it. But to counter-signal him and say that he is compromised and he is a complete traitor and he cannot be our guy, I don't understand it. That you have yet to make the case. It is all conjecture. It's all about his ties and his supposed motivations versus what he's done and what he advocates for. And I will infinitely more, at least in this existential time in American history, in American culture and politics, I would side with the guy who is doing stuff and saying the right things and believes the right things versus conjectures and assumptions about his motivation. Again, I'm not saying you can't criticize him, but what I'm saying is, like, don't counter-signal him to the point of like making him your enemy. That's so stupid. Like, he has never denounced any of you guys. JD Vance has never, till this moment, right now, after becoming vice president and during the campaign trail, he has never denounced dissident right-wingers when the GOP establishment, when liberals and the legacy media, tabloids were constantly bombarding him to denounce GOP staffers, dissident right-wingers. He just didn't do it. That's how you know he's our guy. He's principled. He's actually a patriot. So JD Vance is our guy. I appreciate that. Super chat, Obi-Wan, thank you so much for that super chat. We will end with the verse of the day from Revelation 4:11. Worthy are you, our Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they existed and were created. Amen. There's that song, Worthy of It All, right? I just love that song because it's all about God, beholding God's glory, and that he truly is worthy of it all, that all the elders cast their crowns, we bow down, the elders sing, we are constantly singing, holy, holy, holy is he, and all of his glory. It's a simple song, but I love it, and it's based on this verse. And yes, worthy is the Lord our God to receive all glory, all honor, and all power, and for you created all things. God is the creator of all things, and by his will they existed and were created. So all things we know, all things that are good and true and wonderful and beautiful, everything that we enjoy, the good things in life, all blessings from the Lord. Thank God. He is a good God. We love you, Jesus. Amen. All right, well, that does it for our show. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and this broadcast of the Congman Lee Show, where we talk about restoring faith, identity, and civilization from east to west. We cover the news and hot-button cultural issues and try to give the best sound, sober-minded analysis from a right-wing perspective as much as possible, of course, biblically grounded, as well in historic Christianity. I'm your host, Congman. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And that'll do it. I hope you guys have a great, tremendous weekend. Let's root for Argentina at the World Cup final on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Tune in for some great coverage that you'll see on my X account for that. And all that being said, God bless you guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next time, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, here on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. See you guys.